This past week, the internet got duped by a little cute kangaroo. Meanwhile, people my age are signing up for Adulting 101 classes, and honestly, I could take that because schools taught us how to memorize, but not really how to sign a check or change a tire or anything else that we actually needed to know in life. All while every major podcaster on social media is talking about the loneliness epidemic and what we can do to combat that, all of the stats and things behind the problem. And here's the thing, Mark Zuckerberg has an answer to our problems. All of that and so much more. Welcome back to the Brighton Your Day show. Okay, so this past week, the internet really did get duped. There are so many people that are commenting saying we got duped by this kangaroo. And if you haven't seen this kangaroo video, it's honestly really cute. And I got duped as well. I cannot believe how real it is. And this is coming after Google's announcement of Veo 3. It's an AI generator that can incorporate audio into video. And it's getting incredibly good. Scarily good. If you've been on the internet, you've probably been duped by one of these videos. I swear I need a segment that's just like reacting to all of these videos because they're crazy. It like keeps me up at night. It's crazy. And here's the thing. Usually the meme is like old people fall for it, like the boomers on Facebook that are retweeting the AI generated art or the AI generated house that like couldn't possibly be real or built by a real architect, but they just like believe it is. But it's like everybody on Twitter who is chronically online thought that this was real. And I think that this is a huge cultural wake-up call at how crazy accurate AI video is becoming and how we can't tell the difference. Even us, Gen Z? Am I considered Gen Z? I still don't know. I was born in 2001. So someone in the comments let me know if I'm considered Gen Z or not. And like, here's the thing. It had everything put into place for us to just want to believe it. It was a cute little fuzzy kangaroo. It was this like enraging story about how the lady wanted it to get on the plane because it was her emotional support animal. And so everyone was like up in arms. And I feel like that's when emotions almost cloud our judgment on things that we know aren't real. And we can't like logically think through it as well because our emotions are just wanting it to be real. Does that make sense? AI is getting so advanced. And we are staying the same or even regressing. And that leads me to my next story that is really interesting. And honestly, I totally get it. It says Gen Z is taking Adulting 101 classes because no one taught them how to do life. I have felt this before. I have great parents. Let me start with that. I have great parents. They taught me so much about life. Pretty much were always helping me with everything. And yet I just feel like schools did not teach me anything that I use in my real life today. Have you ever heard your teacher or your parent, your uncle, grandparents, whoever say, oh, you have to learn this, but you're never going to need it in real life ever since this test. Like once this test is over, you were never going to need it. So just get past the test. And it's like, why are we learning it in the first place? Why aren't I learning how to write a check or how to do my taxes correctly so I don't get thrown into jail for doing something accidentally? And it says these workshops and toolkits are now offered at schools like the University of Waterloo and Toronto Metropolitan University, covering everything on how to fold a fitted sheet. That's actually freaking hard. And I want to learn that. But how to fold a fitted sheet, to what interest rates actually mean. Because many young adults' basic life skills were never part of their lesson plan. And then it goes on to say, psychologist Jean Twenge isn't surprised. She said, today's 20-somethings were raised in less independence and fewer hands-on responsibilities. They're less likely to learn how to do adult things as high school students, she explains. Then they get into university and they still don't know how to do these things. Twenge, I still don't know if I'm saying that right. Twenge links the trend to helicopter parenting, a disappearing home ec curriculum, and rising rates of young adults living with their parents well into their late 20s without early experiencing managing tasks on their own. She says students hit adulthood feeling stuck. Okay, I do want to touch on what she says right here. She says, with rising rates of young adults living with their parents well into their late 20s, here's the thing. We can't afford to move out. It is expensive. And so to the parents that are watching this or listening to stuff like this, it's like, don't feel bad for letting your kids still live at your house. They can't afford it. We literally can't afford it. And if you look into the rates of my generation versus older generations, like we are earning less than our generations, which hasn't happened in like so many decades. It's not just kids not wanting to work harder. I feel like that's something that people are saying like, oh, when I was your age, I just worked harder and I was able to buy a house off of my $40,000 a year income and supporting like my 5 kids family. And it's like, that is just not how it works anymore. I am trying to move with my husband right now. We can't even find a studio apartment for less than $1,400. And also I'm like touring all these places and what they charge for what you get is ridiculous. It's crazy out there. And I don't even live in like a crazy populated area. Like I don't live in California or New York or anything. I actually did used to live in Florida, and Florida prices out of freaking control. Luckily, we got a really good deal on ours when I lived there, but again, I don't know how people are doing this. Honestly, at the end of the day, I get it. I understand what these people are going through because I am literally them. I understand. Let me know if that comes to my area, adulting 101 classes. I would literally take it. And we were just raised in a time that social media like was first booming and we didn't know what was happening. And so as you're raised chronically online when you're little, and then you wake up to the real life once you get kicked out of your house and you go to university, you're waking up to real life for the first time. And it's incredibly isolating, which leads me on to my next story, which is what everybody is talking about. Unless you live under a rock, you know that you've seen clips on all of the podcasters talking about the loneliness epidemic, especially when it comes to men. But also it's like, I think all of us are feeling lonely. It's not just men. I just know men are feeling lonely at higher rates than women. But who even cares at this point? Everybody's feeling lonely. It's an epidemic. Like, look at these clips from The Diary of a CEO and Chris Williamson.
The number of men who said that they had 6 or more close friends was around about 55%. In 2020, that dropped to 21%. It's less than halved, right? 21% of men say that they have less than 6 close friends. The number of men who say that they have 0 close friends has increased by 5-fold from 1990, and it's now at 15%. 15% of men say that they have 0 close friends.
15% of men. That blew my mind. 15% of men don't feel like they have any friends at all. No one. And I have felt that before in the past, especially when it came to COVID. The stuff that we went through during COVID. That was so isolating. I know for a fact that has sent ripples down our generation, and every generation. We don't even know the effects of that, I guess is what I'm saying. So I did decide to do a little bit more digging into this loneliness epidemic to see if it was just like a podcast thing that everyone started jumping on, or if this was like really true concrete evidence. And I did find, which most of you guys probably already know this, but this article reads, U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy placed a spotlight on Americans' problem with loneliness when he declared the issue an epidemic in the spring of 2023. They published this huge report titled Our Epidemic of Loneliness and Isolation, the U.S. Surgeon General's Advisory on the Healing Effects of Social Connection and Community. So when I was looking through this report, as well as this other Harvard article, it talks about who is lonely. So let's get into this just for 2 seconds, just so I can lay the groundwork. Who is lonely? 21% of adults in the survey reported that they had serious feelings of loneliness. People between the ages of 30 and 44 years of age were the loneliest group. 29% in this age range said they were frequently or always lonely. Among 18 to 29-year-olds, the rate was 24%, so only 5% less. 45 to 64-year-olds, the rate was 20%, and adults age 65 and older reported the lowest rate, 10%, that felt lonely. That did shock me. Not like it shocked me that the younger generations were feeling lonely, but it shocked me that the older generations weren't feeling as lonely because, I mean, not to get like all morbid and stuff, but like as you age, a lot of people pass away or people move away, and if you have kids, they're old and grown and they probably have families to take care of, and then they leave, and then you're stuck in an old folks home. I'm just kidding, hopefully. But that is actually the case for a lot of old people. But then I do think about the nice old folks homes, and I'm like, I mean, I lived in Florida again. So when you look at the old folks homes, they're freaking nice. They're like a resort. Everyone gets their own golf cart. They all have these friends. They play bingo. They play freaking, probably not pickleball. They go to the pool, and it's an entire community of people in that stage of life. So then again, I could understand the 10%. But when I first read that, I didn't understand the 10%. And I do want to highlight this isn't just a US issue. we like to think that it's only us experiencing this thing and all of the problems that we have. But I did look at this article titled Seoul is spending millions to fight loneliness in South Korea. A growing epidemic of social isolation in South Korea has prompted a capital city to invest more than 450 billion won, which is 330 million in US dollars, in a sweeping 5-year initiative aimed at reducing loneliness in the city. In this article, it talks about doing third spaces. So they have this like cool grocery store / cafe / talking community center that people can go to. And then there's a hotline for loneliness that they had these like projections. I can't remember. I think it was in the 3000s. They had a projection of like 3,000 calls, and then they got like above that for calls of loneliness. So clearly people are using that. And I feel like America should look at that and re-implement that in our own system, because what they're trying to do at least is really cool. Yeah, and then lastly, in the Surgeon General thing, you guys should read this if you're interested in that at all. If you're not, I read most of it, and it does say this line that I thought was a joke, and it literally wasn't. It says that widespread loneliness in the US poses health risks as deadly as smoking up to 15 cigarettes daily, costing the health industry billions of dollars annually. But like, with all these health and wellness gurus and podcasts and stuff, do they talk about loneliness? Do they talk about how to fight it? Because if you look back, at least in my channel, I talked so much about health and wellness in terms of like the gym and physical health, which I still will touch on and talk about, but it's like right in front of our faces. This is the problem here. Loneliness is the problem. Disconnection is the problem. Our culture is the problem. And tech billionaires are the problem, which gets me into my next point with all of this. So what is the solution being offered to this loneliness? Well, some of these articles state, regular stuff like reach out to friends and family, which is kind of funny because if you like, it says reach out to friends and family, but the whole point is like, if you don't have friends, that's probably why you feel lonely. So it's like, hey, reach out to friends, but you're lonely. It didn't make sense. But anyways, some of the other ones were learning to love yourself and accept yourself, or learning to forgive others, and then finding ways to help others. So like going outside of yourself, stop focusing on yourself. How can you serve other people in the community? That is tied and linked to a lot of great benefits. So that's why the resurgence of like walk clubs and run clubs and all these like health and wellness things that you see going on, I feel like that's a huge reason why, is because people are lonely. People want to get outside and connect to people. And I did do another episode on that. So if you want to go on my channel, I can link it down below. It talks about how we're not drinking alcohol anymore, how run clubs are a thing. And it's pretty cool to see. I'm not even going to lie. I even started my own movement club. So if you are in the Utah state, in the Utah County area, I do this every Saturday, so you can go follow my Instagram to do that, or start your own. And that's what I was thinking too. Like, if you are listening to this right now and you are lonely, like, go start your own walk club. I know that sounds so intimidating and you're like, where do I even meet people? But if you make the intention that you're going to start the walk club or the movement club, or it doesn't even have to be movement. It can be a book club. It can be a Dungeons and Dragons club. It doesn't even matter. But once you have the intention out there, I feel like the universe or God or source makes that come into fruition for you. So like, I am now starting to meet girls at the gym, and people are starting to come up to me, and then I just like invite them to my movement club because it's right at the top of my mind. It's something I'm thinking about. So it's almost like I'm putting it out there, and then it reflects back to me. But here's the thing. As I was looking at how to combat the loneliness epidemic, other people had other very creative ideas when it comes to combating the loneliness epidemic, which leads me into my next story. Mark Zuckerberg talked about on this famous podcast, which is now circulating all of Twitter, at least for me it was, his proposed idea around AI helping loneliness. So let's watch this clip. I don't know how much I'm going to watch of it. Maybe we'll stop here and there and have some commentary, but let's watch this clip and we'll get into it. There's a lot I have to say on this, and if you have a lot to say on this topic as well, I would love for you to comment down below what you think about this.
The average American, I think it's fewer than 3 friends. 3 people that they'd consider friends. And the average person has demand for meaningfully more. I think it's like 15 friends or something, right? I guess there's probably some point where you're like, all right, I'm just too busy. I can't deal with more people. But the average person wants more connectivity, connection than they have. So, there's a lot of questions that people ask of stuff like, okay, is this going to replace kind of in-person connections or real life connections? And
like how Facebook already started to do in Meta, but I digress.
My default is that the answer to that is probably no. I think I think that there are all these things that are better about kind of physical connections when you can have them, but the reality is that people just don't have the connection and they feel more alone a lot of the time than they would like. So I think that a lot of these things that today there might be a little bit of a stigma around, I would guess that over time we will find the vocabulary as a society to be able to articulate why that is valuable and why the people who are doing these things are like, why they are rational for doing it, and how it is adding value for their lives. But also I think that the field is very early. So, it's I think, there are a handful of companies and stuff who are doing virtual therapist and, there's like virtual girlfriend type stuff, but it's very early, right?
Yeah.
The embodiment in the things is pretty weak. A lot of them, like you open it up and it's just like an image of the therapist or the person you're talking to or whatever. I mean, sometimes there's some very rough animation, but it's not like an embodiment.
Okay, there's so many things I could say about this video and this topic in general. Maybe I start with the bright side of what he said, because as everybody started absolutely tearing him apart, especially online, because online is incredibly toxic, I kind of understood. What he was saying. Do I think that it's the answer? And do I think that Meta has done like great things for society as a whole and has like a huge net positive for the world? No. But I get what he's saying, where he's like, there are people in the world that can't socially connect as much as they would want to in person. So like AI chatbots can in turn supplement some of that human connectivity. Now, I think when we go back to the history of social media in general, that was the original idea, social media. Now, has that like name been taken and then just like conformed into something else? Absolutely. I don't think social media is social anymore at all. I've heard the term interest media, so it's interest-based media versus social media, and I think that that's actually a great way to describe the landscape of our social media that we have right now and the platforms that are here right now. I just want to first point out, I kind of get where he's coming from in terms of, hey, like there's new companies that are coming out with therapists and dating chatbots for people that maybe can't date. And I won't say who, but I do know someone personally that probably will never be able to have a real relationship because of special needs. For someone like that, I think about how maybe these things could be used in a positive light just for more engagement. I don't know. But then I as soon as I'm saying that, I sit there and I hesitate, because I just don't think virtual connectivity will replace the real thing of physical connection, and I don't think it should replace the physical connection. And the huge issue that I had with this video is when he said, I don't think we have like the vocabulary to kind of talk about this in culture. And he was talking about like the chatbots. Like I feel like he was trying to say later on we're going to be accepting these chatbots as like real connection, but we're just not ready for it yet because the technology and the space is so new. But I sit there and I'm like, should we ever truly accept this as normal and as okay? I'm kind of leaving this a little bit open-ended because I don't know for sure. And I would love to know your guys' thoughts on this. Do you know someone that's been having an AI girlfriend? Do you know of anyone that is completely against chatbots, especially for mental health? Like if you're a licensed therapist or something like that, like I would love to hear your thoughts, because I can only speculate the problems that will arise with chatbots. And I did dive into this for a little bit deeper to see if there's already been issues and problems with chatbots, like the girlfriend thing that he was talking about. And I hate to say that there absolutely is already a problem, even with this, it's being so new. There's already problems with chatbots and teens. And I don't want to get super into the weeds with this story because it is just a sad story. And I think you know where this is going to go, but I do want to just highlight this, especially if you're a parent out there. This is the same thing as when the internet first came online, when social media first happened. Like, the parents didn't know how to protect their kids. And so when it comes to chatbots and AI, I'm just saying this is the same thing. Please protect your kids. We don't know what this tech is going to do to us. especially to children, and it's already having ramifications. An AP News article, it says, an AI chatbot pushed a teen to unalive himself, a lawsuit against its creator alleges. So the story basically goes that for months, Sewell had become increasingly isolated from his real life as he engaged in highly sexualized conversations with this chatbot, according to this wrongful death lawsuit in a federal court in Orlando this week. The legal filing states that the teen openly discussed his unaliving thoughts and shared his wishes for a pain-free death with the bot. Named after the fictional character Daenerys Targaryen from the television show Game of Thrones. So essentially at the very end of this incredibly tragic story, the child was wanting to come home and was asking the chatbot if he should come home to her, and the chatbot was like, yes, and he said, should I do it right now? And the chatbot was like, yes, you should come home to me. And then we all know what happened next. I just want to sit with that for 2 seconds because this world is really dark and can be super confusing. And so I do like to shed light on things that are happening like this right now, just so we can be more aware of this technology and what is happening. And I didn't believe that people were going to have chatbot girlfriends already. But if you guys know who Gary Vee is, he literally said this probably like 2 months ago in a podcast that I was listening to. And I thought he was crazy. But he was right. And if you know him, he's notoriously right on trends. He just has the ability to look at patterns and see into the future. So like, look at this clip.
That your grandkids will marry an AI human.
And what's your conviction level on that?
100%.
That they're going to marry an
That
AI?
your grandchild is going to marry an AI human.
Yeah, he wasn't off. It's already happening. And I think that is crazy. And then you see like the hosts, and the hosts are like, see, I was thinking about it, but I didn't know. But back up. I distinctly remember there was this TLC show and this guy had married his car. Maybe I can pull that clip because he married his car. It was this like red sedan, and he would like, never mind, he would like kiss it and stuff. And it was really weird. So it's like, if that can happen and that car can't even talk, clearly this is going to happen, and it already is. And here's the thing, like, I have been incredibly lonely in my life, especially when I was a preteen and was in junior high. I was super depressed, very lonely. I've had ebbs and flows of loneliness throughout my life, especially during COVID. Like, I understand people that are wanting more connection and are turning to these artificial things to get that connection. It's really hard. My worry, especially with health, is that when we turn to this digital connection instead of physical, our human skills start to atrophy, okay, our personal skills. So when it comes to conflict resolution, well, your chatbot is never going to tell you that you're wrong, or that you maybe shouldn't be saying something that you're saying to the chatbot, or you shouldn't be talking to them the way you should be talking, or whatever. Like, they're never going to like push back and tell you you're wrong. Your chatbot's also never going to mess up in life. Here's the thing, humans are messy. Humans mess up. Humans say things that they don't actually believe, or they don't agree with, or they say things out of hate, and then they apologize later. And it's like, all of those skills are going to atrophy over time if you don't work on them and if you're not in person working on those skills. And if you guys haven't seen, Simon Sinek went on The Diary of a CEO and actually talked about AI, and that's one of his main things that he told really young kids to do. So the question was like, hey, what should 10-year-olds be doing to prepare for AI? And he was saying, maintain your personal in-person skills, like maintain your friendships, your real life friendships, because that's going to get you farther than anything else in life. And if you don't keep maintaining them, they're going to atrophy. So yeah, we got fooled by a kangaroo. We are downloading girlfriend apps. We're taking adult classes. There is a loneliness epidemic, and I know that was published in 2023, but I can promise you that the numbers are still there, if not worse. But on the bright side, because I always want to leave these on the bright side, because this is called, brighten your day, of course. On the bright side of all of this and all of this chaos, this is what I think. This is at least my take. And because of this mass amount of information, this abundance of new information that we've never been able to have before, we are able to ask better questions and dig into the past better and understand how things have been happening to us that we didn't even know. We have been able to open up more about mental health and ways we can actually advocate for ourselves and ways we can feel better. We have been able to use technology for good. There's actually a lot of AI science and stuff that are going on right now that I haven't talked about in this one, but I will do an episode on this. There's a lot of AI and tech stuff that's coming out, especially for the healthcare industry. So if you haven't looked into that, there's a lot of things being studied right now and being cured. And there's all these predictions of like these chronic illnesses are going to be cured because of AI tech. And that I think is a beautiful thing. I also think now we're realizing how much tech has harmed us in a way. And although it can get very dark, we also understand, so then we're not going to let this happen again. Or at least that's my hope. And that's why I talk here on this podcast, is because I understand how social media and how tech has shaped us. And so now I want to help shape a better future with tech and have boundaries and maintain our wellness during all of these changes. Lastly, I just want to invite you to go for a walk. Go see the sunshine. Breathe a little deeper and know that you are exactly where you need to be right now. And you are doing way better than you think you are. Stop comparing yourself to people online and just keep walking on your own path. And until next time, just keep your eyes fixed on the bright side. Bye.